Hi there, it's Dr. Joylyn Maniaci, and welcome to your Power Hour. This is your time to put what's on your mind on my mind, and I will give you my 2 cents for free. And this one is coming directly from a member request. I put up a meme last week. Yeah, it was last week already, I think. 7 common ways people distract themselves from their own emotions, and I had someone ask for an example of all of these. Now, I am not sure if I have an example for all of them. That's not what this one is, but I did want to address emotional distractions because that is something that is nearly universal, especially if you are a sensitive person who's quite emotional, that it's very easy to fall into distraction. And then with what we know about how the brain functions, how to actually use other people as distractions. So if you saw the event post or you got the email and it was of a rodeo clown, that's sort of what we're doing with our lives, is creating these distractions. It says, hey, look over here, don't do it, look over here. That's exactly what they're designed to do. That's the function of them. But when we do that, just like an unknowing bucking bronco, we get distracted, and then it's easier to be taken advantage of, manipulated, or in some way wrestled up the way that the game goes. However, for us, that's not necessarily what we're going for. If we get distracted and pulled off course, we dissipate our energy, and then we kind of sputter and stall out, and we wonder then why we're not making the progress that we are, why we're plateauing, why we keep hitting our heads up against the same sort of thing, or why we keep having the same freaking argument with our partner over and over. And distraction is what it's all about, okay? So when we are talking about distraction, like my microphone cord is insanely long, what is it that we're even distracting ourselves from? Because who in their right minds would actually not want to be successful, healthy, whole, healed, okay? But in the journey to success and happiness and health and wholeness, there is having to face the places where we're not those things, where we were injured, where we were wounded, where we gave ourselves away, where we bought something that we knew wasn't good for us. And so in the process of healing and bringing ourselves back together and making ourselves whole, like we're all like Humpty Dumptying ourselves and putting ourselves back together again, that what we're actually distracting ourselves from is our awareness and our present experience. And it is to get you out of the judgment piece. This is what we've seen. And this is really, really, really by and large, what the media circus wants. Because when you're distracted from yourself, when you are disconnected from yourself, you need something outside of you. You don't feel whole, you don't feel complete, so you look for something to give that back, and hence there's a ton of commercials that are happy to sell you something that's for sure it. Now, it seems oversimplified, but when you kind of look at it, you're just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And the same will be in Vegas. You'll go into a casino and there are bells and whistles and lights and a million different things to where it's easy to lose your focus, so the house will win a little bit easier. It'll easier to get out of your awareness, disconnect yourself, and not be able to stop yourself. Either drinking too much, continuing to go when the table's obviously gone cold, something like that. But that's what distraction's designed for. It's not for you to succeed. It's for whatever mechanism, institution, or status quo. And so that is interesting because we'll get to that. It's also a subconscious tool to keep you from changing, because if you change, it doesn't know what you're changing into. And that's very scary, and it wants to protect you because, quite honestly, it's a part of you and it loves you. Okay, so it's not that it hates you and wants you to actually be sabotaged and not be successful. It just wants to keep you safe, but the way that it is designed, the mechanism of the subconscious, is that it can only look to the past And so it can only say, this is how I know I can survive, okay? So just want to say that because a lot of us tend to go to battle with our subconscious instead of becoming friends with it, understanding how it's designed, how it works, so we can actually partner up and giddy up and ride off into the sunset to success, okay? So when we're distracting ourselves, allowing ourselves to be distracted, however that may be, it is from our awareness and our present experience. It's what's coming up right this moment. And by and large, that is a lot of feelings, of emotions. Feelings that we don't want, that we don't like, that we don't know what to do with, or that we were told in childhood were not permissible. So anything like that, we just want to get out of there, okay? We'll also want to distract ourselves from experiences that look or feel the opposite of what we think they should look or feel like. You know, this is when your life is going great from the outside. You have all the things. You got that achievement, but you're not feeling good inside. And so you just try to do more of what you were doing, eat more, buy more, something, because you don't want to recognize the uneasiness that is not matching the view that you have. Or conversely, you think, I am going to heal myself. I'm going for greater. I'm going to be a good, whole, and healthy person, and I'm going to do my shadow work. And then you wonder why somebody else is having a better time. You're wondering why things aren't going so well. You wonder why then did your cat die or your car get broken into, if what you were really trying to do was be a better person. They don't match. And so then you go into a distraction and a story about that. We do that. We'll also try to distract ourselves when our awareness or our experience, what we're being called to do, is inconvenient. And it just looks like it's going to take a long time or a lot more effort than we want. How many tasks do we procrastinate because it just doesn't seem fun? Or it's because there's going to be an identity challenge. There is an awareness that our soul is ready to change, and we just kind of don't want to. Because maybe we just be a little bit lazy, we just think things are a little bit fine, we can cut off just a little bit, shave off a corner of ourselves so that, hey, we can keep the status quo in place. And so we will move into a distraction so that we can numb that down, or at least not, it just won't be so irritating. It won't be so in our face. We'll get distracted and put our attention onto something else because what is coming up right now is not pleasant. I don't want to feel these things. I don't want to know these things, okay? Whether about myself or another person, okay? And like I said, this distraction is not bad or wrong. So that if you do it, it's not about beating yourself up, oh, I shouldn't do that, because we do that, us driven, perfectionistic, loving people that just want to be better already yesterday. Distraction is what we've grown up with. It's what our reality is actually investing so much money and time in, is really because they know our attention's valuable. They know our energy and our power if we actually go full force behind it. So they want to keep it siphoned off, dissipated, because, oh my goodness, if we really had all the power that we were, the love that we have would instantaneously change this world, okay? But it's the status quo that wants to keep itself in place, okay? So if you are distracting, don't judge yourself. It's what we've known. It is what is quantitatively the majority, by far and large. And there are bits and times and places where it is and has been a survival skill. That if you have grown up in a house that was very intense, abusive or something, sometimes you did have to move away from the intensity of the experience because you did not have the resource to move with it or through it at that time. You had nobody showing you how, you didn't know how, so in order for it to not consume you, you did this distraction thing, and it worked for a time, and that's what we've all remembered, is that it worked and we felt better. But now it's time to come back and heal that thing because now we can actually have the resources to do that. We're not going to go into shock, and we're not going to, spontaneously combust or burn to a crisp. Okay, it's time to actually come back to these things. But distraction is a subconscious tool. Okay, so it's nothing bad, but it isn't working anymore for us actually moving into thrival, because distraction is going to keep us who we were. It cannot move us into who we are going to become. So we got to get out of this shit, all right? So I posted this seven memes, and I'm gonna put them up over here so I can see it. The 7 ways that people avoid their feelings, because a lot of what we're distracting ourselves from is our current experience, our inner experience, which will a lot of times be a message. It's either going to be physical symptoms or emotional symptoms. Those are the 2 largest ways we're going to get information. And the list was overfeeling a dominant emotion, focusing on one to distract from others, procrastination, avoiding a task to avoid any emotional triggers that go with it, excessive sleep to avoid engagement, helping others to mask personal pain, nostalgia or constantly engaging with a different time period to escape the present, blaming others to deflect, and constant self-improvement, which can be defense against anxiety and self-doubt. Okay, so I thought that was a really insightful thing I shared. I think Thomas shared it in another group and I brought it in. So these are the common distractors. And emotional distractors, especially when it comes to using a dominant emotion so that you don't feel any other ones, this is what I've been talking about as emotional addiction. Because it will provide us with a cortisol rush. It will also have a sense of power because you know it. You know how to get from here to there. And a lot of times the dominant thing that we do, the dominant emotion that we go to, has in the past worked to change the behavior of someone else. So it gives us a sense of power. For a whole lot of us, that's anger. Anger is an emotional distractor. But if you look at Access Consciousness, they talk about emotional distractors. They call them distractor implants, so that it's not just anger. It's anger, rage, fury, and hate, blame, shame, regret, and guilt. Because if you look at these emotions, what they do when we're using, because none of these emotions are bad in and of themselves, none of them. But when we use them to distract ourselves, they loop and come back onto each other. So what emotions are designed to do is give us information of how to move, to process it and move through and reconnect ourselves with our soul and move us along. They loop back onto each other. That's how we know it's a distraction. So that there is no problem with being sad. There's no problem with feeling grief. But when we get stuck in there, and then everything loops to where no matter what we do or say or anything offered, we're going to come back to that. It's a distractor. And a lot of times it's the distractor from moving forward into something, into becoming somebody we don't know. For instance, if you've lost somebody and you don't know who you are without that person in your life, it's going to be scary to think, now I'm navigating in the outside world without this person in this 3-dimensional reality. I, in some ways, don't know who I am. But your soul says, yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's going to be fine. They're actually not really gone, and I totally got this. Because I wasn't a Siamese twin attached to them. Like, I can totally still navigate through this world. Like, it's going to be okay. But there's the part of you that says, no, I don't. I can't. So everything will loop back onto that and continue this constant cycling of grief. And it's a distraction from the sometimes even giddiness and joy of, oh my goodness, I'm going to explore a part of me that I've never been able to explore before. Not that I'm ever happy that that person had to die or that the relationship ended, but I'm going to see myself in a new way and I'm actually a little bit excited. But that level of intensity, of excitement and joy, of possibility can be a little bit alarming and triggering to this one who hasn't totally dealt with trauma, okay? So that's why we got to heal all this stuff, okay? One of the other ones that I thought was very interesting was helping others, because that one looks so good on paper and to other people. I'm helping people. And I have a best friend from college who I love more dearly than, I love her. How can I say, like, she's just such a wonderful person in general and then in my life. But she constantly has a struggle with always having to drop everything she does to help her mom or her brother or her sister. Like, she's the one who's got her shit together when the rest of her family falls apart. And so it's always like her life never gets to take off. Like, she does well enough. I'm going to say, like, she's handled it well enough, but she never really gets peace, quiet, rest, like the things that human beings actually are designed to enjoy and need, because she's got to take care of somebody else. And we do that, and it looks good from the outside because you're such a helping person, you're such a kind person, and yes, you are. But her soul's saying, like, it's time. It's time to have peace. It's time to have rest. It's time to actually focus on you, and you put your career in the way that you want it to go, not in the way that it's still going to work for everybody else because they've managed so far. My mom is the same. She drops things and does for everybody else because my mom does not want to look at some of the really uncomfortable things that are going on in her life and in her past. Helping others is good. And there are times when helping somebody else is part of our healing, an absolute essential of us seeing generosity of spirit. And sometimes there is a way that we use other people so that we don't have to deal with our own stuff. A lot of people get into relationships for that reason. How many of us have found a fixer-upper dude or chick? It's happened. We've all done it. So we can all not look at somebody else and say, oh, I know somebody else who's done this. Oh, I know somebody who's done this. Okay, so let's be real, all right? Okay, and then constant self-improvement. Did you guys catch that one? Hi, I'm the poster girl. That's what I've been doing for almost my entire life, is trying to improve myself because I did not want to actually address the underlying fear that I'm not enough as is. Because that's what is at the heart of almost all of it, okay? Is thinking that if I just fix myself, if I'm just enough, then things will just flow. And again, it looks great on paper because you're striving, you're endeavoring, you got a lofty goal. That's nice, you know. It's not hurting anybody else. It never hurts to improve yourself. But when the basis of it is because we're not going to look at or address, or it's driven by that belief that we're not good enough, that's when it becomes a problem and it's a distractor. Other things that can also be used as distractors, not necessarily just the emotions, relationships, okay? In Access Consciousness, when they talk about the distractor implants, relationships and careers are in there. Because how easy is it to get lost, to get totally spread out so that you don't have to deal with any one particular thing, but by relationships and careers. I mean, relationships, even just the way our brains are designed, is that you get in a relationship, and let's say if you're going for an intimate relationship, you're going to attract somebody who's going to help you heal the broken relationship with a parent that you are unconsciously trying to fix. Okay, just happens. It just happens. Or you're with another human being who is not perfect and will not see eye to eye all the time, so there's going to be conflict. But when there's conflict, when there is tension, when there is unease, unrest, our brains will go to beta brainwave patterns. We're going to go into fight or flight. And when we do that, we look to the outside to say, where is the problem so that I can stay alive? And we say, it's you. If you would just do this, if you could just hear me out, if you would just pick up your socks or whatever it is, that then we get totally fixated on them changing. And when we put all our energy into changing them or getting them to see the error of their ways, or spending all our time and energy in trying to get them to see how our feelings and how our lives are being affected by them so that they will then change, okay? Huge distractor, very, very brilliantly done. Sometimes it's like subconscious. It's too good. It's too good. It's like one of those movies where you're like, man, every time. I've watched that 3 times and I still get surprised by the ending every time, okay? There's relationships. Careers can be the very same because money goals, business growth, worrying about employees, navigating tough negotiations and contracts and things. There's all lots of growth involved in that, but it can also get very distracting from what is it that I really want. And by certain, when my body's calling for rest, that's inconvenient. I just don't want to give myself that, okay? So there's lots of ways to use distractions. Emotions are very brilliant. Now, I do want to get back to a certain point, because when we talk about using dominant emotions, for a lot of us, it is anger. And anger is coming up when we do not want to acknowledge the truth, when we're not acknowledging the truth. But when I say truth, it's not like, I hate when people are like, I had to speak my truth. It's not going to be a delivery like that. Truth is usually, it's so stripped down and raw. Truth is naked. Like, have you all seen that about The Truth and the Lie? They were having such a lovely day and they were having so much fun together. And then the lie said, hey, why don't we take off all our clothes and splash around in this fountain? And so Truth did. And then she dunks herself, and when she comes back up, her clothes are gone because Lie has run away with her clothes. And so that everybody goes around thinking that Lie, dressed in Truth's clothing, is the truth. But then the truth that is going through the streets naked, everybody turns their face from. The truth is not convenient. She's stripped down. She's raw. She's not going to have a lot of flowery language. It's not going to look like a monologue, either from a stand-up comedy bit. Oh, we gotta help her. Here's my helper. A stand-up comedy bit or a sitcom or a movie like Mic Drop. It just doesn't happen that way. So when people talk about speaking their truth, sometimes I get a little bit cautious about what that really was. But anyway, because here's some of the truths that aren't being acknowledged. And I just had a conversation with a client this morning. If you're in the 90-day relationship or model, you get a coach in your back pocket so that if something really comes up that you really have to process in the moment, you can text me. And when it's just easier to hop on a call, that's it. 5-minute call, we were done, because she was having a real crux with a coworker, and here's what actually came up. She wasn't acknowledging the gift that she is. In her job, she is brilliant at her job because she knows how to make things easier for the clients and the customers, which is what she gets paid to do. But she always has that foremost in mind. And the other person wasn't getting that. So she wasn't acknowledging her gift and her brilliance. She also was not acknowledging that she's a leader. She has such a dynamic of equality and seeing people as equal, and she knows who her boss is and who's signing her paychecks, and this other person actually makes less than her, but she considers a coworker and values her very much because she does good work when they are working together well. But then to see that she has a certain level of awareness, she actually she's in the 90-day relationship or model, so she's actually doing the shadow work, working on the pieces where she can see she's getting triggered. And this other person has had similar incidents in her life and has gone to counseling. And what we have come to understand, or what I say is, counseling is great. It will give you tools, but where counseling tends to fall short is it doesn't show you how to use them or apply them, which is why I like coaching so much better, because almost everybody's read something, found something, oh my goodness, and thinks that just having the tool is going to make it better, but you got to know how to use the tool. A shovel, a handsaw, a hammer, anything, they're no good if you're not using them properly. Okay? And the same goes with any emotional handling tools, okay? A lot of counseling keeps things in a theoretical realm of things that you could use or should use, but not how to use them, okay? But she's got that information. So I was like, this is how you become a leader. And it's not to talk to her more about how to use them, it's to actually freaking use them. And the other thing then that came up was the truth that she didn't want to see was that it's time to have an uncomfortable conversation. That too much emotional gunk had come into the workplace that was actually getting frustrating. Communication was getting clouded. And it wasn't just, I need to sit her down and tell her this is how. I was like, this is where you use your empathic abilities, you use nonviolent communication skills that we talk about. You know what her insecurity is, so you can actually deliver her what she needs to feel reassured so that your working relationship can actually improve. Because this person does have some insecurity and she thinks that everything's getting questioned, when really the questions are coming from, if I have to go to bat and answer why it was done this way, I need that information. Because I trust you, I'm going to go to bat for you, but I need to have all the information first. Those are simple conversations to have. They're things that we assume somebody knows we've got their back, but we don't say it. And if they're operating from a place of some fear and insecurity, not necessarily because you did anything to cause it, but because of the day they're having, the gluten that they ate, that happens to me if I eat too much gluten, that your triggers get, the water's like it gets churned up. So it's just there. So you address it when it's there. But you will get pissed as long as you actually say, I'm not going to do that now. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to acknowledge that I'm a leader. I'm not going to acknowledge that I know anything more than anybody else. And I'm not going to acknowledge that this is a conversation that I can have, that I know needs to happen. And here's the other thing. I'm not going to acknowledge that I actually know what this person needs and deliver it to them. Because a lot of times we say, I shouldn't have to do that. What the heck? We got it in us? That's what empaths are for. We are healing. We are designed for healing. You know what that person needs? You deliver it. If it's going to make your life easier. That's where we got to start including ourselves, okay? Just going to put that in there. All right, and then a potency of what we're unwilling to be. Anger comes up with that. When we're really ready to step into something else, a lot of times we just want to fight or create a fight because anger is an activating emotion. But a lot of times if we actually just acknowledge, I'm just ready to move on here, we can move on without a fight, without any kind of real exaggerated incident, okay? Now, how do you get out of distraction? Okay, because I'm never just going to leave you hanging and tell you all about something. I'm going to tell you how do you get out of it. Well, first of all, let me tell you, if I haven't said it already, why the hell do we do this anyway? What's the purpose? What is it doing it from? What's underneath all of this, why we used it in the first place? It's all coming from a disconnection from ourselves. There is somewhere where our soul is asking for something that we somehow, because we've disconnected from knowing that we're divine, that we're infinite, that nothing bad could possibly happen to us, in the grandest, because we're infinite and you can't, we never end. Are you catching me here? Okay. But that we've disconnected from that knowing, and so we say, oh, I can't. Oh, I'm not ready. I can't handle this. And a lot of the distraction is because we are afraid, there's this underlying fear, doubt, insecurity that I'm not enough, that I can't handle it. Got to cough, so how you get out of it is to reconnect with yourself. That's what it's all about. It's becoming willing to be who you are, to have your experience, to embrace and have all of you. All of the present experience, okay? All of your past, and then to heal it so that you can integrate. So how you get out of it though, the nuts and bolts of it, the first thing to do is to recognize it's happening. And let me tell you, that shit ain't easy because you've been in it for so long. You are in a reality that surrounds you, you're immersed in it all the time. But having had this conversation, you're going to start wondering, am I distracted here? And so if you want the information, all you got to do is ask, is this real or am I using this to distract myself? Is this something that needs to be handled or addressed right now, or am I distracting myself? What am I feeling really? What's really going on here is a good question. What's really going on here? And then sometimes you'll kind of get this little annoying ping like a mosquito. It's distraction. Oh, you can stop looking at your partner. Dang it, I don't want to. I want to fight with him. But you don't really. You want the future that you have, right? If you've done the future forward focus. It's easy also to get distracted if you have nowhere else to go, okay? Because then you just loop around, and like Van Wilder said in the movie, it's like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you don't go anywhere. That's what distraction will do, and that's why the future forward focus is so important, so you actually know why. You have something interesting to go to so that this isn't just for entertainment purposes, okay? So I've planted these seeds. Now, all you got to do is ask what's really going on here. Is this real or is this distraction? And you'll get some information about it. Then once you recognize if it's distraction that's actually going on here, then you just get curious as fuck. What am I distracting myself from? Is there something I don't want to feel? What am I aware of here? A million questions can flow from that. But then also it's reprioritizing, is distraction what I really want to be engaging in? And for most of us, the answer is no, not really. I know exactly how it turns out. I get tired. I overeat. I end up having to apologize or, whatever with my partner, And for most of us, the outcome is probably at this point a little bit boring to where it's really like, I know how it turns out. It's like when you watch the same Friends episode, like it's okay, but you know how it turns out, so it's not so great. That's what distraction is. But once you recognize you're in it, no, this isn't what I really want because I know how it ends and that's boring. So then I'm going to pivot and I'm going to do something else. That's where emotional handling skills come in, because this is where the self-sabotage, if you don't know what you're going for and you don't know how your subconscious is working, you're just going to actually end up plugging right back into it. So having emotional handling skills, because the restlessness of not knowing what to do instead is going to be intense, especially at first. All you've known is distraction. So that now you're saying, I don't want that. What do I want instead? Well, the not knowing can drive you crazy at first. It's I don't know what the emotion would be. Confusion, uncertainty, unease. They can be intense. It's not always anger or grief that are so overwhelmingly intense. Restlessness is intense, okay? So having emotional handling skills, we've had plenty of power hours about that, okay? Rest, hydrate, get resourced. It's way easier to be distracted when you're already tipping off balance. But if you have your physicality behind you and your brain, like this thing here is so cool. This is your bridge. It's your bridge between the emotional, the energetic, and the physical. And so having all that so that you can actually say, because it's easy to be distracted and go into an emotional addiction because it's so habitual. It's like a paved roadway. When you're tipping off balance and you're underhydrated, you're eating the wrong things, you're not getting enough sleep, there's no joy in your life, these things will knock you off balance. So you got to have those in place. Future forward focus, if you got nothing that you're going for, it's really hard to pivot off of or out of distraction because there's nothing that's actually more engaging or interesting in the moment. But when you've got a future that you're like, that's who I'm going to be, this is the life I'm going to have, and that's where I'm going. Then when you're like, oh, is this distraction? No more, because I'm going for that. And it is so fascinating, so enlivening that this distraction, man, it's been around for decades, but no, I'm ready to have what I have never had before, okay? Those are the things. Now again, easier said than done, no doubt about it, okay? But what I've got for you, if you haven't heard, and did you see I thought my email was hilarious. I went on Canva and I made a little blue because I think I've been talking about it till I'm blue in the face. The 6-week Get Unstuck and Happy as Fuck Challenge, okay? This is leading into a Love Yourselves membership, but I am creating a coaching app. Like, there are so many things that I am excited about this. But most of all is I'm actually bringing all of this together into a coherent and organized masterpiece that in 6 weeks we are going to progress from a place of stuckness and crunchiness to happy as fuckness. And wow, I didn't even know I could experience this. And I do trust that all of you have done some work, so you know that I am not saying that in 6 weeks all of your problems are gone. I'm saying that in 6 weeks you are going to have such a solid idea of who you really are and how to actually get from one place to another, so that in any and every area of your life you know what steps to take to get you from any kind of stuckness and crunchiness and places where you need to be healed, to bringing more of you in, to loving yourself out of the struggle and actually having that future that you'd like. Because it's coming out of fantasy. It's going into reality. And we're working on that because week 1, we are changing the way you see yourself, and you're going to see yourself as somebody who can have it. Week 2, we're talking about slow down to speed up, because what's our self-sabotage do? What do all these distractions do? They say you gotta hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. That's all the bells and whistles. Do it faster. And then we trip on ourselves. Oh, face plant. Boom. We're going to slow down, get our resources together, rest, hydrate, all that stuff. We're going to talk about that. So that then we're going to fly. We're going to make quantum leaps, okay? Because love yourselves and handle your shit. Week 3, we're talking about the emotional handling. And when I say talking about it, I mean we're going to practice. We're going to have some group total dynamics and sharing so that we get what it means and how to do it in the moment. Then we're going to hole up. We're going to integrate. You're going to get a rest week, because nobody's ever shown us the value of rest. They talk about it. Yeah, you need rest. You need sleep. But then here's this badge of honor for doing a million things and being tired. No, we're not doing that. We're going to take some time to integrate, okay? And we're going to rise and shine. We're going to get some skills, communication, and other stuff, and living on your terms, learning what leadership truly is and how to be the leader of your life. Because you are a badass. You're here. But this is second level, third level, fourth. I don't know what level it really is. Maybe like level 800 badassery, okay? Living on your terms, not waiting for someone else in order for you to make a choice to move forward, okay? Kabam! Kapow! Like pow whap. Those old Batman things? Yeah, that's you living on your own terms. That just happened, okay? The 6-week Get Unstuck and Happy as Fuck Challenge. If you're even contemplating it, just contact me so that we can talk. You don't have to commit right up front, though. I don't know why you wouldn't. Seriously, honestly, I'm so excited. And let me tell you, if I can be so vulnerable, I'm excited to share me with you. I want to give you everything that I am and that I have, because I don't want you to have to take as long as I did. So I'm putting it in 6 weeks, so even before Thanksgiving, you are equipped to handle some family shit in the holidays, okay? Because it always comes up. So please, let me love you. Get in this program. You will not regret it. So find me. You can comment on this. Also, share this with any of your friends, because there's a lot of other good nuggets in this Power Hour. But let us get going. We start on October 12th. The registration is closing. There's only a couple of spots left. I want you in it, because I know who you are and I know what you're capable of. And you can lean on my confidence until at the end of 6 weeks, you know that you don't need me anymore. You've got this shit, because you know who you are, you know where you're going, and you know how to get there, okay? I love you, and I am already looking forward to talking to you next week. Get into the 6 weeks. Get Unstuck, Happy as Fuck Challenge. I just, lost my words there. Anyway, can't wait. We're starting soon, and I'll see you next week. Mwah.